Hey guys, this is Matt with BleepinJeep.com. You asked for it, and today we're going to do winching techniques. But before we get started, check out the website, BleepinJeep.com. We've got all the best off-road wins and fails of YouTube, none of the boring stuff. And we've also got some cool merchandise for you, hats and tees there as well. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so these are the tools you'll need in your winch bag. The first thing you'll need is a heavy pair of leather gloves. You'll want to get a tree strap. This is just a short strap that goes around the tree to protect the tree and your winch cable. You'll also need some D-rings if you don't have those already attached on your bumpers. You'll need your winch controller, although I don't like to use these. I like to use a controller inside the vehicle. Just makes it difficult to get this out constantly, and I find it a lot easier to have a toggle switch inside the vehicle. You'll want one of these. This is a snatch block, and these can be used for going around corners. They come in really handy. And you'll need some kind of heavy jacket, or if you don't have that, a cooler will work. Just something that you can throw over the line in case the line snaps. This will absorb that tension and let the line drop instead of flying back and taking you out. Alright, the next thing you'll need is good attachment points on both your vehicle and the vehicle you'll be extracting. On my Jeep here, I've got 2 D-rings on either side and a 2-inch receiver in the middle of the bumper. Now the bumper is very sturdy and it's attached very well. You never want to attach anything to a stock bumper or the axle. You always want to attach to the frame somehow, and if you're going to attach to an aftermarket bumper, make sure it's attached to the frame very well. On the rear bumper here, I've got another 2 spots for D-rings, and I've also got another 2-inch receiver right here in the middle. But this bumper isn't attached to the frame as well as I'd like it to be, so I've kept the receiver here, the class 4 I guess it is receiver, and I've got a hook on the back of it, and I make all my pull points from there. Alright, so we'll start at the most basic things and then work our way up to the more advanced techniques here. But you always want to wear your gloves when working with the winch. Every winch is going to have one of these. This is a release. When you release that, it lets you free spool the winch cable, and when you turn it the other way, it's going to lock the cable in place. Now, after you make a winch pull, your winch line is going to be pretty messed up here. So every time you get back home, you want to spool it all out until it looks good again, and then spool it all in while you're holding it. Not this close obviously, but you're going to back up about 5 feet and wind it on there. I have another video if you guys would like to watch that on respooling your winch. Also keep in mind that when winching, the more line you let out, the more power and torque you're going to have out of your winch. The reason for that is because it basically changes the gear ratio when you have all this cable wound on here, and the less cable you have, the more power you're going to get. Now keep in mind you don't want to let out too much cable. You want to have at least 5 or 10 wraps around there to keep it from pulling itself off. And so this winch is rated at 12,000 pounds, but you only get that 12,000 pound pull when you're down to your last down to your last roll here. Since I've got so many wraps on here, it's going to be less than 12,000 pounds, so keep that in mind. Alright, so the first step is to find your tree. Then look up and make sure that the tree is not dead. You wouldn't want to pull on a dead tree. Now it doesn't take a real big tree to pull on, but you do want to put it down closer to the bottom. The closer to the bottom you can get to the tree, the less damage you're going to do to it. Now you're going to take your D-ring and put it through the tree saver here, and then put the pin in. Once you got that in, you're going to take your hook and put it on upside down. Now the reason for that is if that were to break, it's going to shoot down instead of shooting up and flying back at you. Alright, now about halfway down the winch cable, you want to put something over the cable. As I mentioned, you can use a heavy jacket, a cooler, a floor mat, or in this case a big piece of rubber. Now you want to lock the free spool in, and you want to get everybody back. Make sure that they're perpendicular to the winch cable, meaning they're not behind it on either side, in line with it, and then you can winch away. Alright, now let's talk about hand signals real quick. When you are winching, you want to have somebody outside the vehicle that's in charge of the winch operation. Now they're going to be signaling the driver, whoever's in the driver's seat. A lot of times the driver can't see what's going on up front here, so you need to have some hand signals. Now there are some specific hand signals. This is just a little bit, this is out, this is in, and this is stop. Now when you're talking about distance, you're going to come in like this. When you get to the middle, that's stop, and this is hands off. There's a few more signals. This is I'm picking my nose, and this is I'm picking my butt. Now another thing that people often get wrong is they want to rely completely on the winch, and you shouldn't do that in most cases. If you're pulling yourself up a hill, you've got your winch connected, you also want to have your motor running, and you want to be applying pressure to the gas. Just relying on your winch alone is going to overstress it. Whenever you've got all four tires that can spin, why not go ahead and give it the help that it needs. Once you get up to a certain point and you start pulling on your own, then go ahead and stop, let the winch cable catch up, and then keep on going. Okay, so let's talk about a few other different kinds of pulls other than the straight line pull. I'll show you some examples. Alright, now let's talk about a double line pull. Now what you're going to do for a double line pull is you'll need a snatch block. What you do is you open the snatch block, put your cable through, and then attach the snatch block to the tree. Now you pull the cable through the snatch block and you take that back to your Jeep and attach it there. Now the reason for this is to get more oomph from your winch. Let's say you're pulling up a really steep hill and your winch just isn't cutting it. It'll take twice as long to get there, but it's going to have twice the power. Alright, so that's the double line pull. If you wanted to do that triple line pull, I guess you could as well. Keep in mind that you're getting more power not only from the double line, but you have more line off of your spool, which, as we discussed earlier, gives you more power as well. Alright, so let's talk now about the around the corner pull. A lot of times this will happen whenever you need to pull somebody else, but it can happen whenever you need to pull yourself, and I'll show you both scenarios. In the first one here, I've got my Jeep over here, and I've got a stuck four-wheeler over here. Now it's kind of at a 90-degree angle. I can't take the line from the Jeep straight to the four-wheeler and pull it back, because as you can see there would be a tree in the way and I would just pull it towards the trees. So we're going to go around the corner, and to do this we're going to use the snatch block right here. Alright, so it's pretty simple, just like before. I'm going to use the snatch block off the tree with the tree saver. I'm going to take the winch line through the snatch block from the Jeep and then to the four-wheeler. Alright, so this scenario is a little harder to visualize, but it's basically the same principle as the last pull. Now I've got my Jeep over here. Let's pretend it's stuck on a really steep hill, and the cones on either side are rocks, trees, landmines, whatever. You can't hit the cones, and I need to come straight forward. I need to pull straight forward, but there are no trees in that straightforward path. So what am I going to do? Well, it's pretty much the same as your last pull, with one little exception. Let me show you how it's done. I'm going to use a around the corner pull just like the last one, except I'm going to use a longer strap to do it. Alright, so there you have it. I've got no trees straight in front of the Jeep, but I'm still pulling straight forward. I've got a snatch block tied off with a long tree strap on this side, and then I've got the line going through the snatch block over to another tree over there. Alright, before we go, let me show you one other pull that came in handy recently. I was on the side of a hill, much like this, and I was getting very sideways, about to tip over. It was so bad I couldn't even get out of the Jeep for fear that just my weight alone would make it fall and roll tumbling down the hill. So I used this pull. It's called a sideways pull, at least that's what I'm going to call it, and it turned out really well for me. In this particular case, I was sideways on the hill and the trail continued up this way to the left. Let me show you. Alright, so I'm going to take the tree strap and the snatch block and attach it to a tree that's beside the Jeep. Now I'm going to take the other end and attach it to the back of the Jeep. Now I'll get in and hopefully it'll work out the same way it did the other day. And now once again I'm facing uphill in the direction I need to go. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you have any winching techniques that you'd like to share, please do so in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the website, BleepinJeep.com. Go there, you can find lots of coupon codes for anything off-road, also tools as well. We've also got t-shirts and hats there, and we've got all the best off-road videos on YouTube, none of the boring stuff. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.